When you talk about the example I gave with Google, it's that, Robert Downey Jr., famous actor, he's what you see on Robert Downey Jr. is all about his work in film. But Scarlett Johansson, who's in the same Avengers movies, all you see is stuff about her looks, her appearance, and that is a bias.
Have you ever had that feeling that your smartphone knows you better than you know yourself, and you wondered whether it was just a little bit creepy or perhaps a little bit marvelous? Welcome back to the Leadership Project. We were recently joined on our podcast by Corey Patrick White, a Senior Vice President and founding partner at Future Point of View. He came to our attention through his groundbreaking TEDx talk on algorithmic bias. Here is just a little extract of that great interview.
Let's get back to the algorithm then and the subject of bias. And this is the first time I'll mention, but I'm sure not the last time, to our audience, that everyone should catch Corey's TEDx talk on this. It's quite provocative and really makes you stop and think. And we'll talk about it a little bit more now. So let's start with, what does Harry Potter have to do with algorithmic bias?
Oh, you're going to bring me back. Are you a Harry Potter fan?
I am.
Okay.
My wife particularly so, but yes, I am.
Yeah. This actually was not, I was inspired by my friend David, who actually is one of the TEDx organizers. So I cannot take credit for this. He came up with this idea and I ran with it. But the Imperious Curse, in Harry Potter, it lulls the victim into a false sense of tranquility. So they have no feelings of responsibility. Everything's been removed and they have no idea they're under this curse. They feel that sense of tranquility, that just peace. And in many ways today, we are under a similar type curse like that, with these algorithms, because they are manipulating us in ways we don't even understand and we don't see it. And yet we're totally contented by it.
So what is algorithmic bias? Let's use social media as our example. The algorithms in social media platforms are designed to very quickly learn your likes and dislikes and to present content to you based on those preferences. This puts you into an echo chamber of sorts where you're only seeing content that you would like to see. Beyond that, at a societal level, the algorithms are also learning what's going to be a trending video. And what can happen is the more extreme views are the things that end up becoming clickbait and become those trending videos, sending you down a rabbit hole of disinformation.
The echo chamber is dangerous because, when you only see the viewpoints that you agree with, you can't grow, you can't mature, you can't grow. There's obviously the disinformation as well when you talk about the rabbit hole, and that kids are more likely, and adults, not even just kids, adults, all of us are more likely to consume and share disinformation because these algorithms are promoting these disinformation because the videos can be so compelling.
The TikTok algorithm learns the individual's preferences quicker than anything I've seen. It's just unbelievable. If I pause on TikTok videos that are about leadership, for example, and I flick past other videos very quickly, all of a sudden, everything that's presented to me is about leadership, and I end up watching things about Simon Sinek and all kinds of things, right? So it learns my preferences super fast. So let's start at that level first. Would you say that leads itself to confirmation bias?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's giving you, again, that echo chamber of we want exactly what we want. So I want the content because we're all human. We don't necessarily want to hear competing viewpoints. We want reinforcement of our beliefs that we're righteous and that what we believe is true. We're not designed to want contrarian views because contrarian views make us uncomfortable. we're designed to stay in our comfort zones, and I think that's we reinforcing our beliefs. We want somebody, we all have egos. Oh, you're perfect, you're pretty, you're right, you're so smart, and maybe social media, that's just reinforcing that ego. When you talk about the the dopamine hit of getting a lot of likes, and not all algorithms are bad. You found my TEDx talk because of an algorithm, Vic. I mean, that's the solid algorithm right there. So they're not all bad, and they can be designed to be really great because they can feed us content quickly. Like I'll get newsletters, that of curated technology content. Those are algorithms who are digging into those content, saying these are articles, Corey's going to want to read, and that's great because it improves my IQ, and I can do so really, really quickly. When you talk about the example I gave with Google, it's that Robert Downey Jr., famous actor, he's what you see on Robert Downey Jr. is all about his work in film, but Scarlett Johansson, who's in the same Avengers movies, all you see is stuff about her looks, her appearance, and that is a bias. That is a bias that we have as a society.
Do a search for Robert Downey Jr. and see the images that you're presented. Do a search for Scarlett Johansson and look at the images that you're presented. It's really it's a stark contrast, no pun intended for Tony Stark. It's a stark contrast in terms of what you'll get between the two. And I've got to hand it to Scarlett Johansson here as well. She's a great inspiration to me. And one of the things that I see in her is she calls, and you're an ex-journalist, Corey, so this would be an interesting one for you, but she calls reporters and journalists on this. When I've seen videos of the Avengers all on a panel interview at a film festival, for example, and they'll ask Robert Downey Jr. a question about the craft, about the movie, etc.
With all these folks you see up here, it honestly couldn't have gone any better.
And then they'll ask Scarlett Johansson about the dress that she's wearing, or whatever the case might be.
To get into the shape of Black Widow, did you have anything special to do in terms of the diet?
It's very real. When she stands up for it and says, well, why didn't you ask me that question? Why did you ask me that question?
Like, how come you get the really interesting existential question and I get the rabbit food question?
Now, to be clear on a personal opinion here, coming back to what we said before about whether this was done on purpose, I really don't believe it was done on purpose. And I don't even believe that the heads of these organizations or the engineers that work at Google or TikTok or Facebook, I don't think any of them have any of this intention, but the design of the algorithm makes it so, right? So they didn't set out to do this, but it's a real problem and we need to do something about it.
We need, better data, we need better design, and then we need people overseeing them. We need people, looking at them and auditing them and say, are these algorithms biased? So it's going to be a constant battle of continuing to monitor, and that's going to be a job. In the future, jobs are going to be, I'm an AI ethicist, I'm an AI auditor. So I go in and I make sure the AI is not being biased. And we have to do a lot of testing before we just roll these things out. Because if I'm an algorithm that is serving the disabled community, who's gonna build that algorithm better? Myself or somebody who is dealing with a physical or mental health difference? More than likely that person is going to build it better than I would, because I'm maybe not, let's say disabled, like I'm paraplegic or quadriplegic. In that case, in that regard, probably somebody who is dealing with those things is probably going to design a much better algorithm.
Okay, good. Now we are heading towards what can the world do about this? And there's the first one. So technology companies putting a greater emphasis on diversity and inclusion in their workforce, having those diverse views in your development teams, in your architecture teams, in your leadership, so that you are considering people from all walks of life in the design of your technology. That's call to action 1. I think that's a very good one, Corey. We are the Leadership Project, and we talk to an audience that are the leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow. What other advice would you like to give to our leaders about what they can do to contribute to this issue?
I would say, well, when you're talking to mentoring young people, in that regard, I would encourage them to get into these technology fields. Make sure that they have got a seat at the table, and that you're encouraging them, to maybe go into these technologies and to go into these, I should say, these fields, because these are going to be the fields of the future, where a lot of our work now is going to be done, that we do now is going to be done by an algorithm, or done by machine learning in some way, or machine intelligence, I should say. So we have to learn to work alongside these technologies. So all of us at some point in time are going to be partners with you can call it an AI, you can call it some machine learning platform, but we're going to be a partner. That's going to be our tool in our toolbox, because again, technology is a tool, and it can be used for good, it can be used for ill. So we need people who are understanding and who are passionate about saying, I want technology to be used for good.
We really hope you enjoyed this short extract of the interview with Corey Patrick White. If you would like to see the entire video, we've also uploaded that to YouTube, and you can find it on your preferred podcast service by searching for the Leadership Project podcast. We look forward to bringing you more great content soon. Please remember to subscribe to our channel so that you're notified of future episodes. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you didn't like this video, hit the dislike button twice. Stay safe, look out for each other, and always remember to challenge the status quo.